Close your eyes for a moment and imagine stepping off a hot stone path into a pool of shade, bamboo and frangipani leaning in, the faint sweetness of jasmine in the air, and a single banyan leaf catching a sunbeam. In today's episode, we're exploring Khmer New Year, how a 3-day celebration of time, water, and renewal carries centuries of memory and hope for Cambodians everywhere.
Wait, Khmer New Year here. I love that anchor. Listen closely. Even that scent you imagined is a kind of calendar. The plants around temples and homes are living archives. Their uses stretch across food, medicine, craft, and ritual. The layers matter. They show how Khmer people named and cared for the green world.
Exactly. And we'll do more than describe. We'll carry a few small, memorable scenes with us. Picture a grandmother in Kampong Cham tearing a banana leaf at dawn to wrap a tiny offering. Later, that same leaf ferries midday rice. Little acts like that are how knowledge moves between generations.
The research tells us these gestures hold practical knowledge. What to plant, when to harvest, which leaf to use for which dish. That is the deeper story. Practical use, spiritual meaning, social care, all woven together.
Let's name a few plants you might meet on a temple terrace or in a market stall, and I'll give you a small memory to hang on each. Tamarind. Think of its sour lift in stews and how old-timers will mention it as cooling in summer broths. Lemongrass. Tea, mosquito-smelling bundles, and quick soup flavor. Lotus. Bowl, symbol, and altar offering all at once.
And don't forget Dak Champa, plumeria, the scent that seems to belong to temples and funerals at once. That flower's presence in both joy and grief tells you something about continuity, one scent threading public and private life. The cultural significance is layered, botanical, mythic, social.
Right. I want to push a bit. People often ask if these are medicinal plants in the clean Western sense. I'm not sure I buy the idea that traditional practice maps straight onto clinical categories. What do you think?
We must understand plant knowledge as situated. A leaf used as a steam in one village is tied to season, the person's constitution, and the healer's observations. So listeners should treat descriptions here as cultural portraiture, not prescriptions. Always consult trained practitioners and medical professionals before trying remedies.
Good. Respect and care. Now, a quick concrete memory to help these plants stick. I remember a market vendor calling across the stall, "Leaves for cooling, 200 riel," and a young woman smiling because those leaves were for her mother's postnatal bath. Small market lines like that encode who uses what and why.
Exactly. Knowledge moves in conversation. Take bitter melon leaves or neem-like herbs used in steam baths and poultices. Families pass on simple rules: boil twice, or not for a child under 5. Those story rules are safety mechanisms, even if they don't translate into lab doses. The evidence shows us memory is a form of prescription.
I hear that. Let's shift to temple gardens for a moment, because plants there are also language. Lotus motifs carved in stone, fig trees planted by thresholds, jasmine used in offerings. These aren't background decoration. They organize space and signal how people move through ritual time.
The temple garden arranges meaning. Shade where elders sit, trees that mark sacred thresholds, plants that supply offerings. The pattern shows us that landscape and liturgy were co-designed. Plants carried symbolism and practical use at once.
On craft, fiber and resin make the visual language of textiles and incense. I watched a weaver choose pandan and sedge by touch. This one gives the luster we want. And then explain that certain resins, when burned, mark a festival. Those are skills learned by touch and repetition.
That tactile knowledge supports livelihoods. Community harvest calendars, dye recipes guarded as family notes, these are economic as well as cultural resources. When conservation or documentation happens, it must respect that economic dimension.
Which brings up a real friction. Outsiders sometimes arrive wanting to document quickly, extract a recipe, and leave. I worry that can turn living practice into data, stripped of context. How should projects avoid that trap?
Community partnership and co-authorship are essential. A good project might say, we will only share plant uses after village approval. Names and recipes remain under community control. Contributors receive honoraria. That kind of language models consent and benefit sharing. That's where culture lives.
Right. Small gestures matter for listeners too. Follow local initiatives, donate to community-led gardens, and ask before you photograph a ritual or an elder's knowledge. We'll list trusted projects in the show notes so you can support carefully.
Before we wrap, a couple of hands-on takeaways. Learn to recognize frangipani, that Doc Champa scent, lotus silhouettes at ponds, pandan leaves used for wrapping, and lemongrass clumps by house corners. Ask aloud, what is this used for here? And listen. Photograph respectfully, and always ask permission before sharing someone's story.
And if you'd like a visual companion, I'm posting short clips of temple gardens, market exchanges, and craft processes on my YouTube. Use those clips as conversation starters with local guides and artisans. Don't treat them as a how-to.
One last scene to close. Imagine a child learning to knot pandan into a tiny offering. She giggles, an elder corrects her hands, and a recipe for dye is hummed like a song. The deeper story is that botanical heritage is living and social. It survives when people keep talking, doing, and sharing with care.
We'd love to hear your plant stories. Share a photo, a small memory, or a question on social media. Tag our channel and tell us which plant surprised you most. We'll read a few in a future episode and point listeners toward community-led resources.
That brings us to the end of this episode of Ancient Echoes. We hope these stories helped you see Cambodian history and culture in a deeper, more human way.
The echoes of the past live on in people's voices, memories, and everyday lives. Thank you for listening and for making space for these stories. Find the visuals on my YouTube. Follow Ancient Echoes on your favorite app, and let's unlock the echoes of history together.
If this episode resonated, please share it with someone who might appreciate these conversations. Until next time, thank you for listening to Ancient Echoes.
In the quiet of night, I whispered my plea, holding her close, hoping for her decree. I called upon spirits, asked them to guide, to take her heart and lead her by my side. So I drew her near, traced her brow so fair, my sight is way. Sacred power, Swahai, mighty spirit awakened. By the master's right, let her heart be gently taken. Let her follow me now by vow and by sign. I hear these words, oh teacher, witness this plea. Oh, my sacred power, Swahai.